All right, we're back again for another Wet Ink Wednesday. I'm Matthew Orr, and I'm joined by my brother from the other half of the city. I don't know. Hey, Brandon, what's up?
It's me. Oh man, so much stuff is up, Matt.
I
There's
know, right? I mean,
there's, there's so much stuff.
this is our first year of like doing these like quarterly reports, and this one is the October quarterly report, and that includes like we haven't talked since the beginning of July. And so, I mean, that's not true. We've talked literally minutes ago, like all the time. But like we haven't recorded one of these since July. So it's like we got to talk about Gen Con. We got to talk about like stuff that is fulfilling now. We got to talk about like stuff that's coming up in the last half of the year or the last quarter of the year. Like it's
Yeah, not even last half of the year, last quarter of the year.
well, but it is half of the year because we're going to go to three cons. We've been to three so far, and we're going to go to three more. But that's item three on the agenda. First
That's
up
right.
on the agenda is to talk about Gen Con. So, did you have a good Gen Con, Brandon? I don't think we literally have broken down Gen Con yet.
Oh man, I had a great Gen Con.
Gosh,
I thought Gen Con was crazy. It was
it, it was very busy,
it was very
very
busy.
busy. I
It was very
felt the busyness, like more so than usual.
the fact that Thursday at Gen Con for almost everyone that I spoke to was like better than last year's Saturday, right? Was crazy.
Yeah.
Um, you
Uh,
know, just from people who are at their booth, from a sales standpoint, it was just nuts.
it
And I
was
know that we had an excellent Thursday, excellent Friday. Even I mean our Saturday was great, but our Thursday was just gangbusters. And
yeah.
I mean, they sold out of tickets so fast, and you could tell. I mean, there was a lot of excitement. People were there. There was all kinds of new product, and all around, it was a good con.
Yeah, I mean, I think the air. I mean, obviously, yeah, it can all obviously all be spun positive, right? As far as like like you were saying, the excitement and like that expected numbers of like Saturday is going to be the biggest day, and then that shifted to Thursday, which I think of as like people knew it was going to be a big Gen Con, so a lot of people were trying to get their shopping done on the Thursday because they wanted to do the events the other days.
Right.
And so it shifted that priorities, right? To people, more people shopping on Thursday so they could get what they wanted and get out of the hall. Um, which yeah, it made for a lot of people in the hall, a lot of people in the hall.
Yeah.
Um, and the other thing, obviously, we had a slightly smaller team this year, so I think it's like doubly overwhelming Gen Con because there was no break time. Like every other
No.
year that I've been able to say like, all right, well, Friday morning I'm just going to do what I want, or Saturday afternoon I'm just going to be gone. I'm leaving the booth. I'm just walking around. I'm going to hang out with people. I won't be back. I'll see you tomorrow.
Right.
And there was none of that this year because we was just in the booth all day, all 4 days, because that is we didn't have as much help this year. And so yeah, it's like I don't even remember it. I just remember being so busy.
Yeah. It was. Which is good. I mean, it was.
Well,
We
sure. I mean, I'm not like
some of those
complaining
new
about
never going home books, right? We had home, um,
absolutely.
which it's an absolutely great product, and it sold itself. People would come up and say, "What's this?" I'm like, "It's Haunted House in a Box." They're like, "Great," you know.
Right.
Or you say it's a GMless RPG. People are already on board. It's all card based, all prompt based, and you could very easily give people all the information that they needed to know about this product, and people were on board. I mean, Doug and Julian absolutely nailed it, um, and people were eating it up. All the little expansion packs that we had, all of the little Haunting Tale packs, people loved it, And again, things like Into the Sesson Citadel, Into the Weird and Wild, um, our Never Going Home, new like the new Never Going Home books that we had, Heckin' Good Doggos, all that stuff still continued to sell.
Yeah, yeah,
Like it was just like from all sides. And we were not the only ones. We did take a risk this year and we said, okay, normally we're over on like either in the low numbers, like 100s to 500s. I think one year we were like set the end cap of like 700 or 600, and we were over.
the end cap year was we were at 12, row 12.
Oh, row 12. Okay. But we were in like 25 this year. We were right by Wise Wizard Games, our friends over there, and
Okay.
it was, it was great. We were in an entire row that had, I think Free League was there, All Play was there, Wise Wizard was there. There's the entire
And
row
Mage Hand and Mythworks, they were all,
which were on the other side, or which were like on, to
you
our
could
right,
see, yeah,
further
I
up.
mean,
Yeah, and it was just, which was great. We had a whole bunch of not only really popular board game companies, but also really popular and good quality RPG companies. And we said, okay, let's see how we do, out here. And it was great.
yeah,
I'll do it again.
right. I mean, that's because that's like inside baseball, right? I mean, they asked you, you got to pick kind of your area, right? Isn't like, because didn't you tell
You
me
get
that?
to you get to make a request when you fill out the application,
Yeah, okay.
where you want. So, and they'll try to get you somewhere close. Like, oh, I want to be in your artist alley. Fine, they'll put you kind of near artist alley, or
Yeah,
hey, the end cap worked out this year. Can we be here this year? Right. So whatever, however that works. Um, so yeah, that was our goal, and to try something new and see what the results were. And it it was very positive.
yeah,
But I also heard, like I said, it was that way pretty much across the board.
yeah. I don't remember hearing anyone had a bad, as terms of sales. I don't think anyone had a bad time at Gen Con this year
Yeah,
because it's the new record-breaking Gen Con. It's just more people, more cash being splashed, you know.
that's right.
Uh,
More cash being splashed.
uh,
Uh,
well, I mean, literally, that's not true. More plastic sales than anything else, of course. But you know,
yeah.
um, but yeah. Okay. Do you want to? I don't know. Do we want to court controversy? Do you want to speculate? Like one topic of the con this year was sort of like, is it too big? Has Gen Con become too big? And um, I don't know if you have opinions about that. I mean, obviously, in some respects, I mean, it always comes down to money, right? Like there's deals that are made. Indianapolis has Gen Con there for a while because they've
Oh yeah.
made deals about it, right? I mean, they're not going to, you know,
I mean, that's the thing. People, say, "Oh, well, Gen Con, it's huge. It sells out, and you can't get a hotel room in certain areas." And people are like, "Oh, well, Gen Con, it's too big for Indianapolis. It's gonna move. It needs to move." And I'm like, "Where are you gonna go? Right? It is a Midwestern con, right? It
yeah.
is." And
That's to me,
I
that's
don't
one of
I
the
don't
reasons.
anticipate I don't anticipate Gen Con being like, okay, we're gonna move to Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
That's
It,
not gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen.
well, right. I think one of the reasons why it is so big is because, like you say, it's right there in the Midwest where like all
Right.
of these states can all get there, so easily. I mean, obviously people come to Gen Con from, I mean, we met Diogo there like last year. Like, I mean, people
Yeah.
come from other countries, the Rowan Rook and Decker people come over from the UK. There's people up from Australia. Like people come to Gen Con from all over, but like that's the hundreds and hundreds of people in the dealer hall. The thousands and thousands of fans are coming from, they're driving from Ohio, they're driving from Michigan, they're driving from Wisconsin, we come up from Kentucky, like if you move
Yeah.
it to Las Vegas, like yeah, those people aren't going to be there. It's going to be
Right.
half the size.
And people are I, they expanded into Lucas Oil over the past few years in our Lucas Oil Stadium, and I think they're not out of space. They have all kinds of space in everything that's connected. You can I don't know. I don't think Gen Con is at any risk of outgrowing Indianapolis anytime soon. I just think that people are like, well, there's a lot of people here and it's busy, and
Yeah,
I I didn't get a room in the JW Marriott like I wanted. Like,
neither did we.
not it's like it yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm wrong. I don't anticipate it's going to change anytime soon.
Well, I
I
think you're
I also personally don't want it to change anytime soon.
sure.
I like it
I
where it is.
do enjoy it being less than 2 hours away from us, by
Right.
car, like on a
I have restaurants that I want to go to because
Indy.
in Indy,
Oh
what?
yeah, there's one restaurant that we want to go
There's
to.
two. I do I do two. It's two restaurants every year, no matter what.
Was Shapiro's the other? It's
Shapiro's,
Irena's and
yeah.
Shapiro's.
Right. Yep.
All right. Is that where you
So
went on the after you left the hall?
after I check out, we load up everything and go to Shapiro's.
No, so you made it this year because that was like the discussion was like, were you going to get around the corner and make it?
I did.
All right. Good
I
for you. Good for you.
got a Reuben as big as my head.
That's one of the reasons to go to Shapiro's for sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
But no, I don't anticipate it changing. I don't think it should. Um, we'll see. I mean, there's a number of other things that, you know, you have to take into consideration where where you would host and where you would be able to find that much open convention space and that many hotels at a comparable or lower contracted price, right?
I mean,
Um,
there's
you
there's no bigger city
right.
around.
I
Like
mean, you could go to Chicago, but Chicago is going to be significantly more expensive,
it's true. I
right?
forgot about Chicago when I said there's no bigger city, but it's like that's the only one that's bigger. I mean, Indianapolis is
That's it.
bigger than oh, it's not bigger than Detroit. I guess you could go to Detroit, right? Well, no, maybe it is bigger than Detroit, population wise.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. But again, you're looking Indianapolis is built to like downtown Indianapolis is pretty much built to host a convention like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like that's what it is.
People.
You have everything within walking distance of, your two major sports arenas. You have the large, and your minor league team. You have all your different hotels, all the city center, giant, a giant shopping district. It's yeah. You'll be hard pressed to find a city which is
I mean, we don't have that here in Louisville. Like
nope,
not like that.
nope. You'd be very hard pressed to find it,
Yeah, wild.
especially for 50,000 of your closest friends.
71,000. 71,000. Oh, well, 71,000 attendees, but 50,000 friends.
Right.
Uh, all right. Is there anything else you want to say about Gen Con? We've got a lot of announcements kind of to catch up the people.
I'm
So
I don't I'm we've already paid for next year. So
that's
you'll
right.
see us
We'll be
there
back
next year.
next year. Come see us then. We'll be try to get in the row with all our friends again. That seemed to work out.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah. All right. Well, hey, let's talk about we only got 3 items to talk about. So but the second item to talk about is a multi-part item.
It's sub bullets.
It's sub bullets. So it's our product announcements, our product updates, all of
Oh
our
yeah.
things. So as we record in late September, people are receiving because they're posting pictures about it, their 0 Day War stuff,
Yeah, they are.
which is fun.
Yes, it's very good to
Um,
see.
and this, I think, might now be our record fastest turnaround project. Like,
It I think it is.
I can't think of one we turned around faster than this. And obviously, that has a lot to do with the project being done already before we started, or nearly done. I think there was a tiny bit of layout that was still happening after crowdfunding, because crowdfunding finished in February of this year, right? Do I misremember? Like
I
we
believe
launched in January of this year.
you are correct. Let me double check, just to be sure.
Right.
Uh yeah. Um but I mean to your point, you are correct. I mean, this was an incredibly quick turnaround. I mean, we had files in final review on February 16th, right? It wrapped on February 10th. So like we had the files
Yeah.
already there. We had already worked everything up with our graphic designer and with our artist, and we had a few other things. I know there were some little tweaks and stuff that we were looking at, but like our goal for this was, hey, it was going to fund, and by the time the money was like in the account, we could say this is how many copies we need,
Yeah.
right? uh and we were pretty much there. The files were there, and we had to go through all the stuff, I think. So yeah, it was middle of February, so 7 months,
Yeah.
like
A little more than 7 months. It's not too shabby.
between
And
yeah.
it that will be, I mean, this is our goal, right? We've been trying to get to this point, like to do things more this way.
Right.
Not all of our projects work out that way. Some of them take a long time.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I mean, they all have their own challenges, right?
sure.
So, um, and I think it's a very valid point. Like, this has been our goal trying to get here, right? Like, with never going home, and especially, in the future, things like this. We had stuff stored here. We had stuff stored at a warehouse in Nevada. We had stuff that had just been moved or shipped to our new warehouse in Pennsylvania. And so we had all these like other moving parts, right?
Sure.
Whereas Zero Day War was like, it goes here, it goes to this port, and it goes to this one warehouse, and it's all fulfilled at the same time, right? Boom, boom, boom. That is our goal in the future, to all get to one particular point,
Yeah.
um and to have things ready by the time they are either getting crowdfunded, or if it's something that we pay directly out of pocket for, um just to say, hey, we've announced this project, it's going to be here, we hope to have it at this convention, right? Yeah. So next year at Gen Con, we'll have Zero Day War. Like,
Yeah.
well,
Well,
potentially more,
and
potentially
potentially
more
more.
cool
We're going to
stuff.
talk about a couple other things. So we have, I mean, the I want to at least mention, that we did run a crowdfunding campaign in July into August that did not succeed. So our planned Jiangxi reprint will not be happening at this time. There's sort of, that's a lot of internal discussion that's still going on with the team about like what exactly the future of that line is, with that, how that project can come back. All of that is still undecided. But we are, I want to at least mention that's another thing that happened this year as far as crowdfunding goes. This is
And where that fits in our future development plan of like, okay, well, we have these things that are already lined up, and
right.
like, I think we've mentioned it in the past, like, we are trying to plan out 2 or 3 years ahead, right?
Right. I mean,
We have these things kind of lined up and penciled in, and when there's a change here that impacts other plans, right? So we
yeah.
got to figure out what that's going to look like.
Well, and I mean, obviously, there's many things that can delay a project. We also have been talking about Fast Cars and Family, and that project ended up being delayed in part because of what happened with Zhuangshi and partly because one of the designers had kidney stones and like couldn't work on the game, and so then the design got delayed. I mean, there's lots of
Right.
things going into every project. So it's that's been pushed forward. Something else has been pushed up.
Sure.
But
Everything is its own beast.
everything is its own beast. The phrase that we've started to use, that at least I've started to use, is that like development takes as long as it takes. I mean, that's the back end. And I think the thing that we're trying to get to, kind of, we're talking about a lot of things all at once here, but like the development takes as long as it takes to get the game ready, right? And that is what we're experiencing right now with Garbage and Glory, which is another project that's still on the go. Like it's taking a long time to get it right. And part of that is writers' involvement, part of that is time to do other things, part of that is like we're doing something a little bit different with this one, and there's a tone that we're trying to hit. So, but the unfortunate thing is that like we're now like a year after a year or more after the crowdfunding campaign, still trying to get it right. Whereas like this garbage or Fast Cars and Family, we're going to get it right before we take it to crowdfunding. Like we're
Yeah.
trying to be better. And I know this is people who watch all these videos. I mean, we've probably said this before, but like that is, you try your best, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. So,
Always work to get better, right?
right.
I think Zero Day War was a good model. Like, because we've talked about how wedding games, we're still doing our plus one system RPGs. We have some other box set RPGs like Home, right? And a lot of these things we want to make sure they get from that they all get completed in a reasonable time frame. But for, I think, our box set RPGs and our small box board and card games, Zero Day War is a really good model, right?
Right.
We had our ducks in a row from a production standpoint. We knew all of the components and little bits, and it was all very concrete before it even got to the Kickstarter page. So we knew, this is what's going to happen. Boom, here's the count that we're going to have. Now print it and send it.
Right. I
You
think,
know,
right, which I think is where we're trying to get to that point with Herd. Herd is coming soon. That's
yeah,
been on our docket for a while. I remember it was 2022 that we were first playtesting the game.
yeah,
Um, from the designer, like the designer Sam Knowlton sent us a little copy, and we were playtesting it at a con in 2022, and like here it is, almost literally 2 years later, and it's not, but there's been a lot of work that's been happening in that intervening period where we've and we'll talk more about this with both Sam and the artist, and when we have those videos, those videos will be coming later in the year, um to talk to them more about those details. But like we're putting that development work before the crowdfunding, which is great, uh because it takes a while. It takes a while to get some of these things to the point that they're ready, that you've got the count, you've got the thing, so that we can be at that point where the launch or the crowdfunding and the ordering is put closer together. Like you were just talking with Zero Day War. So,
right.
um, in terms of officially, I mean, we can talk a little bit more about Hurt if you want right now. Or we can,
I like it.
right. I mean, that's kind of where we've been for a long time. I like it. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely talk about kind of where it's at, and in planning, and what you can expect from it from the next couple months too.
yeah, yeah. Do that.
Um,
Do that now, because
we have a
because I
we have
mentioned.
a tentatively planned Kickstarter date for launching that on November 12th. We've gone through some minor rules changes. We've gone through the rule book and all the cards and everything. We've gone through full editing by an editor, a board game editor who we met at Origins this year. Um, he was a great person to work with. Very pleased with the work we were able to do with them, and we were able to get things through, make some corrections, and our graphic designer is wrapping up some of the layout and stuff right now. We have some really, really cool art pieces which are being made and modified for not only the game but the Kickstarter page itself. Um, and I'm really looking forward to kind of how this game plays out. Originally, the game was a touted as a cooperative game, but you were also directly competing. So it wasn't like even I wouldn't even have considered it like a semi-cooperative game. But after talking with the designer over about a few things, kind of how the game and the mechanism works, um, one of the things that we kind of decided on was that all of your herds, because in the game you're playing a herd of dinosaurs trying to protect your herd from predators, right? You're putting other prey in between you and a predator to protect your herd. And so to make it have a more complete feel, a more semi-cooperative feel, and really make people want to work together, um, one of the win conditions is you all have to survive, right? Like if my herd dies, then we can't win the game, right? But you have to also take into account, like, well, how many herd members am I going to have if I help Matt, right?
Right.
Um, so is it worth it, or am I going to negotiate with other players to, prevent Matt's Triceratops from getting eaten by this T-Rex?
No, no, my Triceratops.
Oh no, my Triceratops, my three horns, three horns in your long necks, man. So
Completely unrelated, but somebody was painting a mural of the Land Before Time characters like on a building a couple blocks away from me, and I'm like, why? I mean, I like it, but why? Anyway,
well, I think the more important question, Matt, is why not?
sure, sure.
Right. That's the more important question. But so even now, like we went through some rules modifications and streamlining. Um, and and it's better for it, right? The game is it's solid. The art is
I
phenomenal.
mean,
I
that's
love like just the style.
yeah,
Those of you who have seen the banners and the box art, um it's that kind of layered silhouetted style. It's a lot of browns and earth tones, right? There's not like this is not a full vibrant. This is not Dinosaur Island, right? This is not like neon dinosaurs that you see. Which, no, nothing against Dinosaur Island. I mean, it's definitely an aesthetic choice. But Herd is the art style is one of the things that drew us to the game initially.
right.
Um, and so it'll be fun. It's gonna be the same box size as Home. It's the same box size as Zero Day War. So you can put our wedding games on a shelf. Excuse me, on a shelf, and
And
they're all gonna be the same size. They're all gonna look have a standardized feel.
right.
Sorry, I got the hiccups.
Yeah. Well, you keep talking or let me talk and instead. So yeah, I mean, it's the I mean, again, we've said this before, and so like if you're one of the people who watches these videos to hear us talk about like what we're on about, like this is what we're on about, right? Like the art came with the design already, and so it was immediately attractive as that sort of thing that wet ink does, where it's like, oh, this art will get people to stop and notice the game. First off, like the art will do its job of bringing people to the game. And then, yes, obviously we want the game to be good as well and enjoyable and hit our friend Sen always talks about the promise, right? What is the promise of the pitch, the initial moment, of the game? We want the game to actually deliver on the promise that the box makes. Um,
Absolutely.
but that initial like hit of like, ooh, what is this? This looks interesting. That comes in. And so um it was easy to say yes to develop the game because it already looked so good, because the art had been done, the art style had been chosen, and the art commissioned originally, before we were even involved. So it was already looking pretty great, and it fit our vision for what we want our games to be like, as publishers. So it's been great, and I can't wait to get a poster of it, and get that on our
Oh yeah.
wall of posters of our games and stuff like that. So it'll be, yeah. I don't know if we'll have this video will be out in early October, so you'll have about a month to sign up. I don't know if we'll have a follow link ready, but if it is, it'll be in the video.
Oh, we have a follow link ready already.
Well, then there you go. It'll be in the video description. You can follow along to Herd, to be one of the first backers if you're interested in what we're what we're talking about there. It's going to be our second board game, and very very happy, very happy.
Oh yeah.
But we're not only doing board games. We've got two other projects to talk about quickly, and maybe we'll get into some more. Maybe we'll talk some more about teasing some other projects in the center. But the other ones that are actually in production, obviously, we've got Never Going Home. As of right now, in late September, we are in queue with the fulfillment for Never Going Home for the three books, the beginning and the end campaign. That's the 1914 dossier, the 1918 dossier, and the From Beyond the Veil. Those books will be going to the backers soon. We don't know when, but in queue is the last step before they get mailed out. All of the Brandon mentioned earlier, the pulling the different pieces from the different warehouses, like because the campaign you could get the earlier books, those aren't at the new warehouse, so they aren't at the fulfillment warehouse, they're at the storage warehouse, and so they've been moved to the fulfillment warehouse so that everything can be fulfilled. It's it's a back end mess that this is just I don't know that there's a better way to do it, right? Because no one
Well,
company does all the services.
there is in the future because it'll all
Well,
be going to the same warehouse.
well,
Right.
eventually, right, you get to the scale where you can do it all, but like,
Right. But when we had things that were manufactured at three separate times, they were being put in various places that were available at that time. So
yeah. Anyway, so that's happening. Those books will be along. We still have to fulfill stretch goals. We were talking about those a little bit before we started recording. The stretch goals are moving along slowly but surely. They're not the main focus of what we've been doing, but they're all moving along a piece. So the stretch goal, especially the adventure collections, that they're going to look pretty nice once they get together. Those will be along before the end of the year, should be. It's hard to say exactly when, just again, because of we want them to look good. We want them to be give them the same sort of visual treatment that Matthias did for the books themselves. And that's partly one of those things. Like, we got a new layout designer working on the books, trying to match the tone of earlier things, which I think he's done very well. But that was a bit of back and forth to get to that point. And I think he's brought his own flashier graphic style to it. But you know, um, within the fitting of the older books. I mean, that's been a
right.
process of working with Matthias to get these books laid out. That was a lot of work earlier in the year, which takes time. Everything takes time, everything takes time. And so now those
Right.
books are almost ready, and we're happy to get to see them in the hands of all the backers. And so that's Never Going Home. Anything else you want to say about Never Going Home and fulfillment? Do you know more of the detail?
No, I mean, Never Going Home. I mean, heck, by the time this video comes out, I hope that it is fulfilled or fulfilling,
Right.
right? This is it's good problem to have, right? Um, and we'll be able to move on and make sure that people are getting the stuff that uh getting the stuff that they pledged for, and being able to bring it to their tables, play with their regular game groups. I mean, and if you haven't joined our Discord, or you haven't followed along, I mean, an unofficial, it's called the unofficial Never Going Home fan group or whatever. It's on Facebook. And I just yesterday received
Oh
a
yeah.
notification that one of the guys who actually created the group and who actually has written in this batch of books. His name is Mike Coker. He was a longtime fan. He's a historian. He's a great guy. He's helped us out at Gen Con before, in actually various cons for running games for us. Um, and we liked his stuff. He had submitted some stuff to for us for publication, um, but he actually got to got to know some people and actually was running Never Going Home online for his game group, and finally got to go out and meet them. Drove a couple states away and met that game group, ran in person, and it was really cool to see the community that's growing just around our games, right? Now we had a very small part to play in that, right? We just made the game that they were playing,
Sure.
uh, but it's really cool to see just the community, the friendships that are being made just sitting around a table in person or digitally and playing a game, how it brings people together. I just thought that was really cool to see.
Yeah. Uh yeah, it's great. It's like, I mean, that's when you meet those people, I think that this batch of adventures, another writer in that same book that Mike is in is Atwas, who was another person who we have met in person one time, but most of our is online, and they've created like this, like you say, like they've got a long playing actual play, like it's like 16 parts long, and each one is
Oh
like
yeah.
3 hours, and like they ran their players through a whole dossier, and there's a whole thing that they've created that is theirs, but it's based on all the work, right? I mean, all the people who contributed adventures to the blood or the bones in the dust, and then us as publishers and Charlie as an artist, and then like Alice has brought the layer of being the narrator and being the voice of the game, and like again, it's a similar thing, and then they are also in have an adventure in From Beyond the Veil. So it has that's the loop, right? Of like these people are fans and contributors, and then they get to be in the books. Um, you know. I mean, yeah, it's yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So the last one here of my sub bullets is to talk about Garbage and Glory. We've mentioned it already. Um, it is at the time of recording. I don't know. We were shooting to have it done this year. I think we might still be able to do that, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to know how long these things take. The manuscript is big and full, lots of stuff. It's pretty good, but we keep trying to get a little bit more attention to certain parts of it. And there's a lot of times when we're not working on it. Like I didn't work on it for a couple weeks because working on other things is so, you know, time and all that time has passed. If I was multiple man, maybe it'd be done by now, but it's not. This isn't an issue of X Factor.
You said multiple man.
Yeah,
It's a good cut.
Jimmy Maddox, isn't that?
Yeah, yeah, good cut. I like multiple man.
Yeah, he split into half, split into multiple mans.
Multiple mans.
Um, anyway, uh, yeah, so that's where that is. It's we're working on it. We're working on it. We've got we did, a couple weeks ago I did for Slur Your not, Slur Your Roll is our local event. The Seriously Let's Play, which is our friends over in the Rook and Rasp channel. Seriously Let's Play. I played uh the Garbage and Glory with a group of players there, and it's fun. It's fun to be a magic wielding raccoon. It's fun to be a barbarian raccoon. It's fun to be like a little rogue raccoon who We got up to shenanigans, and it was all fun. So um, you can whet your appetite a little bit for the final version of the book by going and watching me play with the crew over at Rook and Rasp. I'll put a note here to link that also in the thing. So that's where we are. It's almost like no news is no news. Like things keep working, but we're aiming for the end of the year. Sooner if we can get it sooner, but I don't know. It hasn't gone to print yet, so it's I don't know. It
Yeah.
takes as long it'll take as long as it takes, you know. Do you want to mention any other projects that we have on the go that are, I mean,
Well,
I'd mentioned Fast Cars and Family. Do we want to mention any of our others or
no, I think
we're already
so fast. I mean, you do mention Fast Cars and Family. I think Fast Cars and Family is a great example of that. You know, just like you were saying with Zero Day War or Garbage and Glory, um, of things that you have unexpected things come up. I know you mentioned a few of the things earlier, but like even when it comes to design, we had um we've sat down, we had some ideas for the design, and the designers with the design team like brought on an additional designer. They started working on through a couple of things. We said, oh well, I don't like how this works. I'm gonna bring in some other ideas. They tweak some things. And so like we have a concept of what we want the game to do. We had allowed the designers to play with that, and they are in the process of getting it to do what they want the game to do, still working within the bounds of the plus one system and still leaning into the feel of what we want the game to be. And so it's a very fluid process. Um, but it's always interesting to see these design teams, which are we've worked with two of the three designers before, but watching their different approaches to to how they're tackling the project and how they're tackling the plus one system. um and so it's always interesting to see how these people work. um I have a very particular style that I like to do, and and Matt has a very particular style he likes to do, when working through some issues. Um, and so, we want everything to be in lined up, polished in a very good spot before it ever even gets to uh crowdfunding. Like we want the game to be done, effectively done
we
before it
want
ever gets
to.
there.
Like again, this is you're hearing in real time how we are like
Right.
trying to be better at this, you know.
Right. And so it's like, you know, we haven't set any dates. We have we give our team some benchmarks, and we say this is where we want it to be, this is where we want it to go, this is when we're expecting to do certain things. We have our deadlines. But again, like if it's a hard and fast deadline, but the game is not done, then that's a different conversation to have, right? But we're also not going to be like, oh well, this game is you know 5% done. This is just a name on a page, a title on a page. Then we're not putting it out there. That is not what we're going to do.
Sure.
uh, we've committed to that. um, but we have a number of other things that are out there that we've mentioned in the past. We've I think Lucas's game,
Precious
Precious
things.
Things. you know we've talked about this a little bit in the past, and Lucas is another designer working on a plus one game for us, um, which is it's a game about fun dragons. Like you get to play
Tiny
with
little dragons.
tiny little dragon, playing with your tiny little horde, um, and you're not necessarily hoarding gold or hoarding coins or gems or anything like that. You're hoarding, uh, you know,
Push
thumbtacks.
pins and
Exactly.
maybe chicken bones, little food
Right.
scraps or string, bits of string.
And it's a fun little cute concept. Um, We just got word from an artist yesterday that
Mm.
they're going to be that they're on board. So we've already got our artists lined up.
Oh, that
Um,
is news to me. I didn't know that. That's
oh
great.
yeah, yep. Uh, that was got a response yesterday.
Nice.
Um, which is it's good. So, that's lined up, and Lucas is again, he's working through his, like we were just talking about designers approaching things differently. He's approaching this in um, a very formulaic way. He knows here are the things that he wants to hit, here's the things he wants to work out, and he's like, I'm going to get this core part of the system done before I hit these other things, right? Which I think is great. He knows exactly what he wants to do and how he wants to approach it and what works best for him as a designer. And I'm all for it.
Yeah.
So, whatever we can do to alleviate any stress or any barriers that the designers may have, that's our job. Um, and so that one's going to be great. That'll be potentially sometime in 2025. It's going to be uh more along the lines of those family friendly games. Um,
Yeah.
probably in between Heckin' Good Doggos and Psychic Kids from a
Yeah, I think it's going to be
that feel.
using the MPAA, right? It's like this is a PG game, not a
Right,
not a full G, but a PG one probably.
right.
And not
Um,
PG-13 like Psychic Kids.
right.
So,
And um, and then we've got a couple other things. We have a couple other games in the works from our board game side. I know that
yeah, we
I
haven't.
don't know if we've ever officially stated this, Matt. I know we talked about this at Gen Con a lot when we were
Mhm.
approached by both
Oh,
designers and customers. But Wedding Games has four main development lines now, right? We have our system neutral, system agnostic games or game books like Into the Weird and Wild, Into the Sesame Citadel, right? Those that they don't need to be married to like the plus one system. They don't need to be married to like Pathfinder or the 5e or something like that. They can be used anywhere.
right.
So we have those books, and we have more coming in those
Mhm.
uh, in that line. We have our plus one line, right? With Never Going Home, Heckin' Good Doggos, Psychic Kids, Tenebria, and then all of the other stuff that we're building there, like Precious Things, Fast Cars and Family. These are things that are still going to be in our proprietary plus one system.
Mhm.
We have our small box RPGs like Home, right? And they can use cards, they can use dice, they can use whatever, but it is an RPG that is using a different model, excuse me, that can all be in a box. And then we have our small box games like Zero Day War. So our small box
Non-role-playing game.
non-role playing games, board games, card games, things
Yeah.
like that. And so in those lines, like the small box board and card game, we've we're working with a designer named Bill Lasik. He is the designer of the game Koi. It's a fantastic game. Um, but we met Bill at PAX Unplugged a couple years ago. Talked with him about a couple of different things, play tested design that he had uh, for um, for a game called Light Speeders, um, and that's one that we're going to be working on over the next year, getting it to a point that it is that we want it to be as a Wet Ink Games project from both a visual side and a rules clarity side, and just what components we want, all of that stuff. But we've already signed that. We've talked with Bill in the past, and he's a great designer and a great guy. Um, and uh, there's another one which is that we've also signed regarding uh, big stompy robots. All right,
Hmm.
called switch gears, and again, that's going to be another 2025 project. You have a lot of stuff kind of spread out but I only mentioned that because we're keeping that we're keeping all of our things moving as we keep going. Just like Matt said, if there's a problem or there's something where something has to take a pause, life happens. We all know that certain events happen, and sometimes that something that you have slated for Q1 can't fit there anymore,
Yeah.
right? So you have to have something on deck to move into that position, right? Um, and so Switch Gears, Big Stompy Robots is it's a robot combat game. Um, and we got to play test that at PAX Unplugged last year. We've talked with the designer multiple times about various things. He's an engineer by trade, and again takes a totally different approach to design as most other designers. I mean, he's coming from it as with the mindset of an engineer. So it's great to see, and we had an excellent call with one of our friends who's a wonderful visual artist. Um, was it last week? Was it only last week, Matt? Or
I think it may have been a week and a half ago at the time of
and
recording.
but his so our friend Eduardo he does some amazing work, and we got to talk with him, sit down and talk with him about the game, and I think he's very, very much on board with with that. So, and again, that's not even touching some of the RPG things that we have in development. Matt, I'd like to kind of toss it over to you to hit on any of the RPG stuff that you want to cover.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you're just like dumping out all
You
the
know,
candies out of the bag here. Like we can talk about all of them. Like
get all the candy out. Hey, you know what? Halloween's coming up, Matt. We gotta get all the candy out.
right. I mean, I've been in the Instagram posts that I do and stuff. I've been a little coy about all these named projects, but the other ones, the as far as the other ones that we have been talking about, I think the you didn't mention specifically beach episode, but that's the like
Oh
coming
yes.
soon. That's our next in our system agnostic line. Is designed by Jess Geyer. The idea being that in the any campaign that you're playing, take a beach episode, go to the beach. The main plot is not necessarily paused. This is coming before the main plot. You're getting ready for the climax. You've just had the final climax. Now what do we do next? Anytime that this fits into the thing, it's a downtime sort of episode, except now that you're not like fighting for your lives, now all the tensions between the party can kind of bubble up to the surface, and you resolve those things. Do you admit that you like the other character, right? Or do you admit that like, oh, you knew all along that they were cheating or whatever? All of those sort of like character motivations that you've had to tamp down because you've been fighting to save the world can
Oh
then
yeah.
bubble up to the surface and in the downtime thing. And we want to put a lot of fun. And I may have described it, Jess isn't here to describe it for herself, but like that's the idea, right? Is that
Yeah.
a booklet to give you those sort of like ways to encourage those plot lines, and there's card play involved in it as sort of like random generation of the plots and stuff like that if you don't have those tensions necessarily built in. And we want to have some other fun stuff in there like souvenirs you can buy and then take on into your game that then have a very little small stat block that, again, in the system agnostic sort of style, that like there will be an in-game effect of these souvenirs later in your campaign, right? You bought,
I'm gonna have a coconut shell with a bendy straw and a
yeah,
little umbrella in it.
yeah,
That's gonna be my souvenir.
and that's your souvenir. And then like that is something that could come up in a later session where you're like, no, I've still got the bendy straw umbrella, and it reminds you of those times, and it kind of, the idea is to integrate it sort of not seamlessly, but like you can have the memories of
Right.
going to the beach, you can have the souvenirs, you can have the like fallout from the plots when you
Right.
go quote unquote back to your regular campaign. This toolkit for having a beach episode is something that coming soon, like that is, or coming sometime. Like we don't
Coming
have
sometime.
dates. We don't have a dates. It's like
Soon
it's
is all
a
relative.
project
Soon
that
is all relative.
it's going to come forward.
But
Um,
no, I think beach episode is,
but
just the
that's
concept is it's so much fun. Um, Jess is a phenomenal, writer. She's absolutely hilarious, and just the concept of like being able to go play beach volleyball,
oh yes.
with your game or with your adventuring crew, and then go on and go save the world. Fine, it's very much like 90s sitcom, episodic insert, right?
Anime, I think is her, like there's a lot of anime inspired
It's
as
oh
well.
yeah, it is a trope for a reason.
Right, it's a trope for a reason. And so that would be, along with the next Into book, which is still being worked on, those are things.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
which will line up perfectly for a beach episode.
sure, that's right. Put the two together. Like get them both from us and put the two together. Uh, yeah. So,
Yeah,
and I mean, uh, I don't know yeah, I don't know about contracts. There's the other thing that I know is contracted that we haven't mentioned yet in this little grid that I drew real quick is one of our other boxed RPGs is called The Last Voyage of the Triumph. I believe
okay,
that's Joshua Bowman, right? Is the
yeah.
Yeah. So that will be a another boxed RPG. It's the Triumph is a ship, and you went on the last voyage of it, and that was the last time you were all together. And there's different crew roles, and there's different story plot lines, and it's another prompt-based storytelling experience. Less very similar in sort of concept to home, obviously executed in a different way. Um, and that is another one that's on our slate, right? So I drew this as we were talking about it, Brandon. I drew this sort of grid where it's like we've got these four categories, and there's like things in each category, and something gets done and published, and then the next one is right there. Like we've got
Ne-
a depth
Next one moves
of
up.
projects that we've lined up, and we've got plenty of projects on the go as we've just gone through a whole bunch of these future projects, and we'll be looking to put something at the end of each of these production lines, because once we get through them and once they get out there, we'll be looking to put something else out after that.
There's
Oh,
there. I know we say it internally a lot, Matt. I don't know if we've ever included it. I think I would be dumbfounded if we have not said it on one of these. The ideas are easy, but execution is hard,
mm,
right? If someone comes up and says, "Hey, I have an idea for a game," it's like, "Great, make this game," right? Like, make it,
yeah,
right? Don't like if you say you have an idea for a game, that's fine, but you have a lot of designers who have gotten to that point where they said, "Oh, I've said my idea, and people keep telling me to make it, so I've made it, and now I'm going to go and pitch it," right?
right.
Um, and we internally also have a lot of ideas that come all the time. When like Matt has a running list of things where we'll say in conversation, he's like, I have to write that down.
Was the one?
Right. Ideas are easy. Execution is hard.
Was it Top Men? Top Men. That was the one that we would say
Top
at
man.
Gen Con. Like, but before I forget, I did forget to mention Casting Off
Oh,
Tyranny, which we did. That will be
yes.
another that boxed game, everything you need in the box, an elaborate storytelling activity, um, approaching a role. You will take on a role, you will have the storytelling experience, but it is not necessarily a traditional one book and some dice kind of role-playing games. So I did want to mention that one quickly. I forgot about that one. Um, but the top men, right? I mean, that's a joke that we had at Gen Con this year, where it's like that's a phrase from the first Indiana Jones movie. Like, what is it is so evocative because it brings in the Indiana Jones. You just call a game Top Men, like people who know what that is are going to know what that is. And then, like, what is that game, right? Are you some sort of alternate version of an adventuring hero gathering artifacts, but I think you're not. I think you're managing the warehouse where the top men are doing the research. So it's
They're
more of
doing the
like a
research,
dark
right?
academia thing, which is super popular right now. And, um, you know, you could get, I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, you get the warehouse guy, and you could get the the linguist character, and you could have a more, this sort of mix of blue collar and also scholarly work, because you've got to manage the warehouse, right? And
Oh,
where the
absolutely. If you
so
come
anyway, I
in,
mean,
if you miswrote your requisition form, I'm gonna bring you whatever's on that form.
that's right. That's right.
Sorry, you didn't put a decimal point in the right spot.
Right. And so anyway, these are ideas, right? This is maybe a good idea. This is like not a bad idea. This is a good
Yeah.
idea. There's something there in that idea, but it's easy. It's easy. Like once we
We can
start
have
sitting
ideas all day
down, like
long.
what system do we use? Is this a gumshoe game? Is this going to be a +1 game? Who knows? Maybe we'll never come up. Maybe we'll never do it because execution is hard, right? We've got all these other games that we've told you about that we're working on.
Right.
So uh anyway, uh I don't know that we I don't know. Like I said, I was expecting to jump onto this. We've talked for a while already, while now. We should finish up with our third bullet item on this list real quick, which is talking about our future cons. So it's one of those things where the current cons, the current cons that we go to, we've been to 3 cons so far this year. We went to Gamma Expo, went to Origins Game Fair, and we went to Gen Con. And here we are in the last quarter of the year, and we got 3 more cons to go to this quarter. We've got actually 2 cons coming up in October.
Hmm.
Um, one is our local con that we've never been to before, called Goatman Festival. And actually, if you're watching this video on the day that this publishes, Goatman Festival is this weekend on the day that this video publishes. So if you are local and you're watching this video in the week it comes out, come out to Goatman Festival out by the the haunted railroad trestle, out in out on the edge, on the south east edge of town, and come to Goatman Festival.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
So we're making something special for that. We'll probably we got something special for people who come out. So something else we've been working on this year. Small thing, small thing. But those, that's it. No more on that. Um, so the next big con, Brandon, that's later in October.
Yeah, Gamehole Con.
Gamehole Con. We're going back to Gamehole Con up in Madison, Wisconsin. We had a good time last year. You know, this sales drive the line, sales drive the attendance of cons. So we're going back to, sold well enough to go back. So we'll be going up there
Yeah.
uh in the middle of October. I think it's I believe it is the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th. That's the actual
Yeah.
days of the event in
Hmm.
October. So we've got to obviously travel up there and travel back, but like those are the actual days of the con. So we'll be in the hall slinging all the product that we have. Hopefully I'll be there making some. I've been doing all the con videos. I have yet to start at the time of this recording, reaching out to people specifically about like, hey, you want a game jam at Gamehole Con? But I will be doing that hopefully with some people, like I did last year, to get some
Have you
fun
have you
video.
ever done one with Pete?
No, I haven't. He's on my
He's gonna be
list.
right across from us. Pete
I know,
Petrucci
I
from
know.
Imagining. Yeah, that would be cool. I bet
That Pete
he'd be
Petruccia
fun
is
with us.
definitely on my list to try and get a game jam with this year. Because yeah, we haven't done it before, and well, because he's usually so busy at cons.
He's busy as all get out.
But Gen Con, or not Gen Con, Gamehole Con's a little gentler of a con.
Yeah,
So there should be some downtime available. Maybe I can get a game jam in with Pete. So that'd be fun.
it should be good.
The Mad Dungeon folks, maybe Ethan Yen, who I you know met last year at Gamehole Con, and then had him interview on the channel earlier this year. um uh I don't know, I've got a list of people that are possibilities to game jam with, so I need to
I need
reach
to
out.
make sure I take my Skies of Fire for him. So,
I
because
think MythWorks will be there.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, great crew. Yeah. So we have that one, and then uh, one of our favorites is coming up in December.
Big one. The big one in December is PAX Unplugged. uh we've This will be our I guess only our third time, fourth time, third time. 21, 22, 23, 20,
This will be
24,
our
fourth
this
time.
will be our fourth. Yeah.
Uh yeah. Um
Yeah, this will be our fourth.
did you go in 21? Did we go in 21? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, we had to have gone in 21.
Yeah.
So anyway, this, yeah, our fourth time there. Love this con. Great time of year. It's, they have the Christmas market over like almost catty corner to the convention center.
Yeah,
Um,
right around City Hall.
yeah. If you're watching this video, tell the Philadelphia government that you don't want a stadium built in Chinatown.
Yeah, for real.
Um, the it's a great town to be in. We like showing up there, walking around the streets at that festive season of the year. There's a real festive season to the con itself. It's pretty laid back. We get we see a lot of people there that we don't see because we go to cons in Ohio and Indiana and Wisconsin, but then like going to a con over on the East Coast in Philadelphia, we see people over there who don't come all the way west to us in the Midwest. Um, at least I feel that way. It's more of a East Coast con in that respect, and so I see people there every year that I don't get to see else other times a year, which is great. We last year we had Stephen there, Stephen Wu, artist that we know, lives in the New York area, came down to the con. So I believe he'll be back this year. We are planning to bring to table with Sam Brick, who is the artist for Garbage and Glory. So that'll be kind of our art showcase for the year this time, which is pretty great. Um, we haven't got our full list together. It's still a little while away about all of the people that will be helping us out, run the booth and stuff like that. But we will be there, or I'll be there. Brandon's not going this year.
Not going this year. Womp womp.
Womp womp. But
It'll probably be probably about not this year or next year, but the year after. I will probably be able
yeah,
to make it work.
yeah. There's, it's a difficult. You got all kinds of reasons to stay
I got
home.
all kinds of reasons, and it is my favorite con, but we'll make it work. We'll make it work one of these days.
Yeah. So we'll be there. That'll be, I'll have to put my con hat back on. I did the IGDN cons for a couple years, but I haven't had to wear the con hat for because Brandon wears the con hat, and I'm happy to let him wear it because I did the IGDN cons and I've gotten a taste of that. So, but I'll have to put my hat back on for the for this one. So, um, but yeah, we'll get that all arranged and yeah, hopefully I don't know, we'll have you know, as all the products come in, we'll have them at cons. So should have Zero Day War at Gamehole Con, at PAX Unplugged, should have Never Going Home. Maybe we'll get Garbage and Glory in by PAX Unplugged. That'd be great. I don't know if we
And
will or not.
and I know that we look at the availability of products at cons, pretty much from I, mentally I use Gen Con to Gen Con,
Mhm.
or because that's like the apex of con season in my mind, right?
Yeah, it's the biggest one we go to.
Right. And between Gen Con, this past year to Gen Con, we'll have uh we'll have the three products, the three SKUs for Zero Day War, right? So our playmats, our expansion, and Zero Day War, right? We'll have um the Garbage and Glory cards, dice, game, and that stuff. Hopefully, herd and any ancillary products for that. Like
Yeah,
the idea is that by Gen Con next year, between Gen Con and Gen Con, we'll have you know 10 plus new products, right? Which is mind blowing, but it's like, yeah, but it's your product and the ancillaries, right?
sure. I mean,
But
even to have three new games by next Gen Con, it's pretty great.
right. And if there's more, great. We'll see how
Right.
that all plays out.
See how it all plays out. See how it all plays out. Uh, All right. Well, we talked about cons for the end of 2024. We don't need to look ahead to 2025.
Not yet. Hey,
Well,
that we'll save that for our next one.
right. I'll see you in late December for our Q1 of 2025 chat. All right. I think that's, like I said, we've hit all our bullet points. We've rambled a bit. We put all the candy back in the bag. We're not going to talk about it again for a while.
That's
Uh,
right.
uh, Brandon,
This
thanks for your time today to talk to me about this stuff. Hopefully people find these videos useful, seeing all the behind the scenes, us trying to be as, I don't know, as forthcoming as possible, really. We're not the best at what we do, but we're trying to make ourselves better,
but we have fun doing it.
and we do have fun doing it. Almost always, yeah, on balance, we have fun doing it.
That's right.
Some days are harder than others. Uh,
Yeah. We also shamelessly panic sometimes.
it's I don't know that panic is exactly the emotion I feel very often, but it's yeah, that's it's too late in the video to get into all that.
uh,
Brandon, thanks for your time today. Thanks for talking to the viewers, putting us out there for the channel. Any final words from you before we close out the video?
no, I mean, just uh, you know, keep on, you keep on watching all the content that's being put out there. I know Matt's doing a lot of really cool videos with creators all over the industry.
The month of October is going to have like all fire videos. It's great.
And it's good to see, but uh, keep playing games, play our games, play other games, play. I mean, there's just keep playing, have fun, and it's that's really all it is. It's life is too short to take yourself too seriously.
Oof, ain't that the truth? All right. Yeah, so inspired by that, if you want to comment on this video, tell us what game you've enjoyed most recently, board game or role-playing game, and thanks for watching, thanks for commenting, and we'll see you in the next one.